Hi, Judge Andrew Napolitano here, and you are on Freedom Watch with my good friend and colleague. You all know him so well, Geraldo Rivera. He's Fox News senior correspondent. So Hillary's health is now center stage in the campaign. But isn't it really her lack of transparency about her health that is the issue rather than the health itself?
Well, I think it's both. You know, the right and the Republicans in the Trump campaign have made her perceived frailty an issue, and I thought unfairly until these latest revelations. I also think, though, Judge, and I think this is to your point, pneumonia is a serious enough diagnosis that she should have told us, which goes to your point on transparency. I think clearly she had the obligation to reveal to us that when she had that hacking cough episode, that it wasn't
an allergy,
and it wasn't Donald Trump.
There wasn't a version of Trump. But Sunday afternoon, when our intrepid colleague Rick Leventhal was on top of all of this, the campaign was telling him and others she was exhausted and it was too hot. Now, it wasn't that hot Sunday afternoon. She may have been exhausted. Were they lying, or did they not know that she had pneumonia? It's 3 days after the diagnosis.
I think they were spinning clearly. I don't know whether the specific spokesperson who uttered those words, which were false, knew them to be false. I think that that's a paper trail perhaps worth pursuing. But they think that clearly they knew that this was serious, that she had to really soldier up to get to that event. She refused to listen to the advice to stay home because she didn't want to give a campaign issue to Trump, and she ended up giving him one in spades.
Okay, so is this a campaign issue yet again? Her either lack of transparency or deception. Does this add to the email scandal because now we have deception, at least in Trump's argument, about her health?
I think that clearly, particularly because we have two candidates who are up in years. I mean, they're both younger than I am, but they are up in years.
You got to say that.
They should have transparency in terms of a complete, comprehensive medical evaluation shared with the public. But I think medical records should be shared with the public, just as income tax records should be shared with the public.
Do you think we'll ever see his income taxes? He probably pays none, which in his business, a lot of big developers end up paying none because you're a lawyer. They can take losses from places where most people don't even have places.
Totally legally.
Yes.
I agree. But I also think that his reluctance to release is clearly evidence, in my view, that there's something that he would prefer the public did not know.
Is he expanding his base by the sort of more moderate tone we've seen since Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway took over managing the campaign?
Yes, and if the election was held today, Trump would win.
If the election was held today, Trump would win.
I believe that.
Doesn't he have a more difficult route to 270, the number of electoral votes needed, than Hillary does?
I think that this latest health scare, Judge, and then the bundle of degenerates, or whatever she called them.
Deplorables.
Deplorables.
Basket of deplorables. Well, you know what? Bundle of degenerates is the same thing.
And more colorfully stated. Coming on, you know, her allowing Trump to steal a march on her pre-Labor Day when she disappeared to raise funds. Very ill-advised. I don't know who's directing her, but Kellyanne Conway, clearly in charge of the Trump campaign, is steering a ship much more decisively, professionally, with a candidate much more, at this point, charismatic and vivacious than
Doesn't she have great expectations? Doesn't the public have great expectations of her at the debate and low expectations for him? Which makes it easy for him to claim he won the debate.
I remember the Nixon-Kennedy debate, the first one I was conscious of, and everybody thought that Nixon was going to wipe the floor with John Kennedy. And I was one of them. I thought that there was no way that the sitting vice president could lose to this young upstart, barely 35 years old. And yet, he exceeded expectations. He won that debate and won, obviously, the presidency. I think that in this case, however, Trump has won so many debates that the expectation on him will be that he'll be as glib and as fluid and as competent vis-a-vis Hillary Clinton, but I'm not so sure.
Are you of the view that he has changed his mind or moderated his tone on what was his initial signature issue, one close to your heart and mind, the rights of immigrants? Or do you think it's the same old, build the wall, kick them out, Donald Trump, just using different language because it's now the general election?
That's a great question, and I don't know. And that, I think, is the Achilles heel of the Trump campaign. If he does lose, it will be because people like me, swing voters, people in the middle, just find it repugnant to vote for someone who wants to round up otherwise law-abiding, undocumented immigrants with families and citizen children and expel them all. I think that is inhumane.
Can you, who've known him for 30 years, get a straight answer out of him on this?
I cannot. I hear the answer that Kellyanne gives him. That's the one he made in Mexico. Then I heard that awful speech in Arizona the same day.
Which negated the good he did in Mexico.
He certainly, it was like 180 degrees from what he had done 12 hours before. And I just don't understand. Those people are going to vote for him. The hardliners on immigration are going to vote for Donald Trump anyway.
Right.
Why he doesn't show a humane side, a compassionate side, a pragmatic side now on this issue, I don't know.
Geraldo, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Josie.
From New York, defending freedom whenever they let us. See you next time, America.